So imagine you're launching a company. You need a team, and I mean a big one. But what if instead of renting office space and going through a huge hiring process, you could assemble a global virtual workforce almost instantly? And what if you only paid for the exact skills you need right when you need them? Well, that's not science fiction. That is exactly the power that Amazon EC2 puts right at your fingertips. Let's dive in and see how this all works. It really wasn't that long ago. If you needed a server, you had to buy a physical one. This meant a massive upfront cost, what we call a capital expense, or CapEx. You'd have to guess how much power you needed, spend a ton of money on these big machines, and then just wait for them to show up. Amazon saw that and just completely flipped the model on its head, turning it into an operational expense, or OpEx. Now, you just pay as you go for what you use. The flexibility is just incredible. And the service that's right at the heart of this whole revolution, that's Amazon EC2, which stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. This is the core of our virtual workforce. EC2 gives you these secure, resizable virtual servers in the cloud, and you can think of each of these servers as an individual worker on your team. In the AWS world, they're called instances. It's really the fundamental building block that gives you instant computer power without you having to own a single piece of hardware. So why is getting a handle on EC2 so important? Well, it's because Amazon Web Services, AWS, is the absolute leader in cloud computing. They hold a massive 30% of the entire global market. So learning EC2 isn't just about learning one service. It's like learning the fundamental language of the modern cloud. Okay, so you're ready to start hiring your virtual team. The very first step is figuring out, well, what kind of workers do you actually need, right? Just like in a real company, you wouldn't hire a data scientist to design your logo. You need specialists for the job. So let's meet the candidates. First up, we've got your all-rounder. These are the general purpose instances from the M and T families. They have a fantastic, balanced mix of compute power, memory, and networking. Think of them as the reliable, do-it-all generalists on your team. They're perfect for running things like web servers, microservices, or small to medium-sized databases. But what if you need some serious muscle? That's when you bring in the number cruncher. These are the compute-optimized instances, the C family, and they are absolute powerhouses when it comes to tasks that need a ton of processing power. If you're doing high-performance computing, scientific modeling, or maybe running a huge online game, this is the specialist you hire, no question. Okay, now what if your job involves handling just enormous amounts of data at high speed? For that, you hire the data librarian. These are the memory-optimized instances from the R and X families. Their whole purpose is to process massive data sets right there in memory, which is lightning fast. It's absolutely crucial for things like big data analytics or running large in-memory databases. For the really specialized creative jobs, you need the creative genius. These are the accelerated computing instances. They use powerful hardware accelerators, like GPUs, to chew through jobs that require massive amounts of parallel processing. We're talking about things like machine learning, high-end 3D graphics rendering, and complex pattern matching in data. And finally, every great team needs a warehouse manager. These are your storage-optimized instances. Their whole deal is providing incredibly fast, low-latency access to huge amounts of data that are stored right on the instance itself. They are perfect for jobs that need to read and write data super fast, like data warehousing or large-scale log processing. So, as you can see, the main takeaway here is that there's a specialist for pretty much any job you can think of. From that balanced all-arounder for your day-to-day tasks to the highly specialized creative genius for your big AI projects, AWS gives you the exact right tool for the job. It's a perfect example of how flexible the whole EC2 platform really is. All right, you've put together your dream team of virtual workers. Awesome. Now you've got to figure out how to pay them. And just like with real-world hiring, you've got different options that are tailored for different kinds of work and different levels of commitment. Let's check them out. In the world of EC2, there are three main contract types, or pricing models, that you really need to know. We've got on-demand, reserved instances, and spot instances. And trust me, picking the right one is absolutely key to keeping your costs down. First up is the hourly contractor model, better known as on-demand. This is all about flexibility. You pay for computing power by the second or by the hour with absolutely zero long-term commitment. It is perfect for apps that have spiky, unpredictable traffic, or for when you're just developing and testing out a new idea. Next, we have the salaried employee model. In AWS terms, these are reserved instances. This is for your steady, predictable, long-term work. If you know for a fact you're going to be running an application 24/7 for the next year or even 3 years, you can commit to that usage upfront. And in exchange for that commitment, AWS gives you a really nice discount. And when I say a nice discount, I mean it. By committing to a reserved instance, you can save up to 72% compared to that on-demand price. I mean, for any application that has a steady workload, this is a total game changer for your budget. And finally, we have my personal favorite, the standby freelancer or spot instances. Now, this is where things get really cool. AWS basically lets you bid on their spare, unused computing capacity. It's perfect for jobs that can be interrupted. Think batch processing or data analysis. Because if someone outbids you or AWS needs that capacity back, your freelancer stops working. So, what's the reward for dealing with that little bit of uncertainty? How about a discount of up to 90%? Yeah, you heard that right. Spot instances are by far the most cost-effective way to get your hands on huge amounts of computing power, as long as your application is cool with being paused and resumed. So, you have your team, and you know how you're going to pay them. But where do they actually work? Well, this virtual workforce operates out of a global network of amazing facilities, and understanding how they're all structured is key to building applications that never go down. I mean, this is a critical question for any business, right? If your entire operation is running from one single location and something happens there, a power outage, a network failure, whatever, you're offline. Game over. So how does AWS solve this huge problem? The first layer of defense is the AWS region. The easiest way to think about a region is as a big, separate geographical area, like North America, or Europe, or Asia. Each region is built to be completely isolated from all the others, so a problem in one region will never, ever affect another. So how does AWS build that same resilience inside of a region? They use something called availability zones, or AZs. An AZ is basically made up of one or more separate data centers. The best way to think about it is this. A region is like a city, and the availability zones are like separate, fully equipped office buildings all across that city. If one building has a flood, no big deal. Your team just keeps working from the other buildings without missing a beat. We've covered the team, the contracts, and the offices. But there's one last super important piece of the puzzle, your role as the manager. You see, running a secure and efficient operation in the cloud is a partnership, and you really need to understand your part of the deal. And this whole partnership is governed by what AWS calls the shared responsibility model. It's actually pretty simple. AWS is responsible for security of the cloud. That means they manage the physical buildings, the hardware, the networking, the office space. You are responsible for security in the cloud. This means your data, your applications, patching your servers, and controlling who gets access. Basically, AWS provides the secure building, but you're still responsible for locking your office door. And there you have it, a powerful, global, on-demand workforce of specialists with flexible contracts and incredibly resilient offices, all just waiting for you to tell them what to do. You literally have the building blocks to create anything from a simple website to a world-changing AI application. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it?